important brief. Bongani is the advisor to the Minister of Transport, very knowledgeable on transport issues. Lizelle, you know her, so she's from GCIS. This impromptu briefing is precipitated by the developments that have engulfed our country, and normally when political leadership does not appear, when certain things happen, you allow technical people to explain. It throws the whole country into a state of frenzy. And people think that the country is engulfed in flames and there is a crisis, it's load shedding, flights have been stopped and all of that, and in no time nobody get to explain what is happening. So the important brief here really is an information note to the nation and those who use air as a mode of transport, to bring them up to speed into detail about what is happening. I know that SACA have issued a statement, and also SAA and other operators that include ComAir and all of that, about what is happening. So what we're doing here today really is to bring you up to speed, and so that we can field some of the questions that are necessary to be answered, and so that all of us were at one in terms of understanding what is around us. A number of airlines announced delays and grounding of aircrafts this morning as a precautionary measure following a safety audit conducted by the South African Civil Aviation Authority, referred to as SACA, on the South African Airways Technical SAT, who maintains aircrafts on behalf of a number of airlines, which include South African Airways, Mango, ComAir, and British Airways. SACA is an agency of the Department of Transport with a mandate to regulate aviation safety and security. The regulator has consistently maintained a proud safety record, earning accolades from its peers around the world. We have been briefed by the SACA that as a consequence of the sampling of sampled a few aircraft, these were subsequently issued with a prohibition order, meaning that this could not operate under a duty to their customers to ensure that the aircrafts that are in service meet the safety standards. Thank you.
Hi, Minister Chantal from African News Agency. Just if you can explain to us what the nature of the irregularities that were found were.
Minister Louise Omoji from Fin24. I wanted to check if you guys know what the cost of the delays might have been to the economy for today.
Good afternoon, Minister Paul Beckyard from Bloomberg. Aren't you concerned this is the start of the tourism season?
Often are these safety checks done? It seems like a bolt out of the blue. Is this a long-standing problem, or was today just a terrible day? And secondly, when do you expect the flight schedules to return to normal?
I want to take a second round here, and then we can go to Pretoria, please.
Maybe just wait for the answers first and then take a second.
Don't overwhelm the Minister.
Thank you.
Are we going to, Minister going to answer, or are we going to go?
Can you go another round, please?
Minister, I think 2 weeks ago, Vice Fikile of SA suggested that there was an organized criminal syndicate operating out of SA Technical. Have you been updated as to what is happening there? It seemed, he seemed to suggest, and this might go to my colleague's question, that aircraft parts, like fake parts, were being sort of put onto planes, parts, original parts being siphoned out of SAA and then being sold on the black market kind of thing. What is happening with regard to that criminal syndicate? And are you confident that SAA, technically in this, as SAA generally, has the technical expertise and the know-how to ensure that air safety does not suffer a fatal crash or something like that? Are you confident that we are not in a crisis at the moment? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magoni. Question for the Minister. First of all, why did it take 3 days? The inspection was apparently done at SAA Technical on Saturday. Apologies. I wanted to know, why did it take until today for the flights to be cancelled and aircraft to start being inspected when the audit was apparently done on Saturday? So that's, it's the whole of Sunday, the whole of yesterday, where we've got aircraft potentially that are operating with irregularities. Why was there not swifter movement by the CAA? And second of all, allied to the question you asked about the capabilities at SAA Technical, are you assured that the South African Civil Aviation Authority has the necessary resources and capacity to deal with this sort of thing? It seems a bit odd that there should be such an accumulation of aircraft affected and that this wasn't picked up earlier. It suggests that there may be a breakdown somewhere in the process and the system at the CAA.
Minister, we know the flights that were affected were domestic flights, perhaps just for record. If you could give us a list of the particular flights that were affected. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister is going to answer those questions for now, and then we will go to Pretoria.
Thank you very much. First, on the question about the cost, we can't make of the cost at the present moment, as the operators, I think, will also assist in relation to that. And that, for the record, all the major airlines have actually been affected. And like we actually said, this has been an act on the side of precaution, so that it shouldn't be that an audit has not been conducted and recommendations were made for what needs to be done, and nobody responded to that. And indeed, this was after Vusi Pikoli's report or utterances or remarks or whatever that necessitated, among others, the speedy action on this particular matter. Tourism will not be affected because the airlines will be back on speed and everything will be under normal. But most important thing is that SAA in particular have developed an action plan which have already been accepted by SACA in terms of addressing some of the challenges that have actually been raised with them. What are the chances of this happening again? It should be avoided. It is not a crisis. It is not for the first time that planes have been grounded for different reasons. And it happens all the time. You will have seen, for different reasons, a particular airline was grounded for over a period of time, which is a private and independent, and has actually found its way back into action after addressing some of the challenges that the airline was faced with. Checks, how many times? Checks happen all the time, but this is a specific and an important response given the report that came, and an audit was actually undertaken. But at all times, the regulator does its job in terms of keeping the airlines on check about operational issues and all of that, and recommendations all the time are made, and to a certain extent, grounding of airlines does happen from time to time. because the regulator have got to maintain its position to ensure safety of our people. South Africa have got a very clean record when it comes to safety, and we pride ourselves of that. We have never had an airline carrier of passengers crashing in the borders of our country, in and outside. And we've got a clean record given the technical expertise that we have actually had over the years and the role the regulator plays and so on. Now, this special report that is there, it has got to be taken seriously, and it has been taken seriously by the regulator. And in this particular instance, that is why particular action has actually been taken. Because, among others, if the regulator put a blind eye to what has been reported by Fikile and his team, it will be an irregular part on their part not to act decisively on the report. Audit, why delays and why audit happened? Look, there's a whole lot of technical aspects that follows when reports get to be released and actions that need to be taken. It is not a delay. It is within the turnaround. There's nobody who said airlines must be grounded. They acted on precaution on their own part because there is a report, and then as a result, they actually had to act on it. So the point for everyone is that we shouldn't panic. These matters have been attended to. Before end of the week, everything will be back to normal. In fact, there's minimal, interruption of airlines. They are still, even myself, I was delayed this morning. I was supposed to land in Cape Town at 8 for a cabinet committee meeting, and then the flight started to be cancelled from 6 o'clock in the morning. The most important thing is that if things happen and nobody explain, the whole society and the whole country catch the frenzy, and it becomes a national crisis. We have many problems today because we don't explain our difficulties and what we're faced with. The most important thing, if you provide service to the people, you must be able to explain, and political leadership in that sense must actually emerge. And from all the reports we've got is that this is not a total shutdown. It's not a crisis. It is a normal process. Airlines are acting on the part of precaution, and everything will be back to normal. And it is all in the best interest of the citizens, and not that there's anything untoward in the sense that we're in a state of crisis and all of that. It's just that when the regulator speaks and raises issues, all matters must actually be attended to. So that is what it is important for all of us. And if the day passes by and nobody says anything, it is as though we are in a state of flux. Things are just happening, and there is a total crisis. Civil aviation does have the capacity and the resources to undertake its work over the years. And in fact, we are the body that is highly recognized in the whole world. We just came from ICAO in the conference in Canada. South Africa is held in high esteem. We have won awards after awards because of our capabilities. So in terms of monitoring the operators, which is all the airlines in our country, and hold them accountable and so on, we've got the best capacity. We control 10% of the airspace as we speak now. And in that particular regard, we've got the capabilities to even regulate and oversee whoever comes in and out of that particular space. So our capabilities are beyond questioning. Internationally, in terms of the International Civil Aviation Organization, we're well recognized. In fact, our team, in terms of SACA team, the CEO and the board, I think that they are very capable people, and is one of our best performing entities in the Department of Transport. So we're very much confident, and they are doing the good job, and we support them, and we don't interfere with their work, and they gave us all the details in terms of technicalities. I may not be specific to give you all the details in terms of the specific that led to the reports and what came out of that, but we'll be kind to you to link you with the SACA team at the technical level, the CEO and them, so that your follow-up question can find some resonance there and proper reporting from that context. Otherwise, I don't want to throw bones and behave like as if I'm a well trained engineer of the airspace. My point as an overseer of these entities is to give guarantees to society that all is on track. There is no crisis. It's not a total shutdown. It is normal, and therefore all is on track and will be normal before end of the week.
Before end of the week.
Before end of the week, yes. Remember the grounding, not the grounding. The non-operation today was on the part of the operators in terms of acting on the side of precaution. And going forward, should there be grounding of airlines, it will equally be reported for whatever reasons. But for now, there is a clear action plan on what has been detected as deficiencies that has been given, and it has been accepted by SACA as we speak as the regulator.
Thank you. Is that a follow-up, or should I go to Pretoria?
Point of clarity, please. Minister, sorry, can I just understand properly? So the regulator found problems on the planes, or they are responding to Picole's report? Or they went out there and they found,
After the Pikoli report, obviously the audit was conducted, and then to that extent, a report was given to the operators, and the operators have responded in terms of a full action plan on how to address those deficiencies that the regulator have actually found. So we are acting on that, and that action, among others, includes on their own volition the act of precaution by actually attending some of the airlines that could actually be affected. But should anything emerge in the process, report will be given on the side of the operator.
One last follow-up here, and we can.
Sorry, ultra basic practical question. So if I'm flying tomorrow, which luckily I'm not, am I going to face the same kind of problems that we had today? Or I'm just asking on behalf of the many people who will, or are things becoming better? You say it should be back to normal if no other planes are grounded by the end of the week, but does that mean that the extent will lessen, or that it will remain the same?
It will lessen, and ideally we want the regulator and the operators to communicate like we say in the statement, so that you don't travel without knowing whether when you go to the airport, like you arrive in the morning, you are told that the airlines have been grounded, and it pushes the whole country in a state of frenzy. We don't want that. When there are difficulties in whatever sphere, we need to communicate, because if we don't communicate the difficulties, we create an impression that the country, and even to the whole world, because the airspace is a very important arena which we share not only with ourselves, with the rest globally, and the airlines affected also. It is important that we must communicate. I can say to you that everything will be back to normality, and what we want ideally is that should anything emerge that suggests the delays and whatever must be communicated promptly. That is what we want.
Thank you for that, Minister. We'll go to Pretoria. Whilst Pretoria is getting ready, the current OTP is at 80%. Normally it's at 85%. Yeah. The benchmark is 85%.
Good afternoon,
yeah.
Bongani.
Thank you,
We are in Pretoria. Thank
Yep.
you so much, Honourable Minister Fikile Mbalula, Special Advisor Bongani Mblula. I know we're joined also by my colleague from GCIS, Liesel Surf. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, very good afternoon to you all. Minister, we don't have any questions from outside of Pretoria. Thank you very much for the time. I'm going to send you back to Cape Town. Bo, it's over to you.
Thank you. Pretoria people are clued up. Yeah. Well, I think that's it, unless there's another question. Yeah.
One final question. Minister, can we say that there are faulty parts of the airplanes? Is that correct? Or how can we describe this technical irregularities? Can we say that there's a possibility or there's a fear that there are dodgy parts being put on, or the mechanics at SAA are not doing their job properly? How can we say?
No, suffice to say that it's precaution. And
So
then
you haven't found anything that's wrong?
the fact that they act on precaution is because something wrong has been found, and that if there's anything found, That is why airlines have actually acted on the part of precaution after the audit has actually been conducted.
Minister, in all fairness, that's unclear. So basically, what you are saying is that because there were irregularities found, airlines acted in a precautionary manner. That would, to me, mean that we have no idea of what the extent of this problem is.
No, can I explain to you? When you get a report from the regulator, the report comes and goes to the operators, and to that extent they've responded with a detailed plan in terms of what has been raised by the regulator. And to that extent, they've acted not in the entire fleet, but to some of their own operations. They have acted in precaution to ensure that some of the things that have been raised are attended to. And that is what I'm actually explaining. Meaning, there is some fault that would have been found and it has got to be attended to. As to that fault, it is what it is defined in the Fikile report. It is another subject altogether, but that report, among others, prompted action on the part of the regulator.
Sorry, I still need to manage this, please, guys. I thought we had taken the last round, but I see the hands are up again. Can this be the totally last round, please? So, yourself, and then we go this way, please.
Mr. Minister, just what is this? You say that a correction plan, SAA Technicals come up with a correction plan. What does this entail? Are they going to be working on those aircraft that have been grounded again?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, just following up to these, my name is Babalu from EWN. Just following up from these clarity-seeking questions, Yan specifically. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the audit or the issues that were found are with SAA Technical, and their ability and their capacity to, maintain aircraft that belongs to Comair, SAA, etc. The problem is not with the actual aircraft, but questions that are being raised by the audit on SAA Technicals, what do you call it, how they, handle their business.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, let's start at the top and come back. Yeah.
Minister Fikile Mblula from Bloomberg. The last time I heard an airline pilot say, "Don't panic," believe me, I did. Just quick. So the way I understand it is that the audit reports came out. The audit report was on SAA Technical. The Civil Aviation Authority saw the audit report and decided to act. And it was about SAA Technical's ability on servicing these aircraft. So the operators themselves, do they still have to put in a report? You said earlier on, SAA Technical also had to put in a report. So is that the correct sequence of events that led to, and how many aircraft were grounded, and then finally, what was it? Was it the actual parts on the aircraft that was a problem, or was it a matter of, I know aircraft logs and engine logs are very important. Was the paperwork not done properly, or record keeping not done properly? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two things, just the semantics around the grounding versus precautionary. The Civil Aviation Authority's press statement earlier today says, during the audit, and I quote, the CAA sampled a few aircraft which were subsequently issued with a prohibition order, meaning these aircraft could not operate until such time that they had addressed the non-compliances. Okay, excuse the bad grammar in the statement. But that seems to be at odds with what you say, taking precautionary measures. It seems more like somebody had issued an instruction saying you may not operate those aircraft. So there seems to be some confusion, semantic confusion. The second thing, just picking up on what Paul was asking you about the audit report, is that the audit report that follows the audit of SAA Technical, and also what contribution did the remarks in the preliminary CIA report into the Mango incident, where it found that a part that was installed in an aircraft, that the service history and the provenance of that part couldn't be ascertained. To what extent was that also a consideration in triggering the CIA inspection on SA Technical?
Just one last question, and we really have to close because there's a three-line whip, unfortunately.
Okay, Minister, my question follows on my learned colleague. I don't know as much about aircraft, but I think I have the same problem. It seems to me that there is a disconnect between what your statement says and what you are saying. I mean, your focus seems to be that there is no crisis, don't panic. If I were flying tomorrow, I would want to know, and this is the basic question that all of us are asking, will I be safe and will I be delayed? And it seems to me that we don't really know what the extent of the problem is. As Papalu said, yes, an audit of SA Technical, but that would imply certain effects for the airlines and for the possible safety of the aircraft. So all of these things are related. We're just trying to basically answer those questions. Will it be safe and will it be delayed?
Thank you, Minister.
First, let me explain that as per mandate, the SACA reserves the right to inspect the entire fleet of the respective operators should it deem it necessary. That's the starting point. In relation to SAT, the SACA issued the AMO with a notice of intended suspension, which we all know about. And the notice was issued just before noon on Saturday, 12th October 2019. All right? And that SAT has been afforded 48 hours within which to make representations, right? And provide reasons as to why their AMO approval should not be suspended. The 48 hours will expire on the 14th of October 2019, which is midday. And immediately after that, we're going backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, furthermore, SAT has requested to meet the SACA team on Monday, the 14th, which is what has already happened, in order to make representations which seek to address the non-compliances listed in the SACA report to SAT, right? The SAT Board of Directors has also requested meeting with SACA to clarify certain issues, but to also strengthen the relationship at the strategic level. Now, all of these things are things that are actually happening to address all the technical defaults that have been addressed. Obviously, the airlines that will be in operation will not have been airlines that are actually affected in terms of the operators by what would have been pointed at by the regulator in terms of those that are actually affected. So should there be any changes in this particular regard, that will be communicated promptly and efficiently going forward. But action has actually been taken to ensure that whatever that has actually been reported is basically been attended to in the best interest of all passengers and safety. So if you ask the question, am I safe if you are in the airline? You will be safe because in that space the regulator have taken action in order to ensure that people are held accountable and that the technical aspect and report that has been there also has been taken to task to ensure that all of these deficiencies are actually addressed. What I cannot address with you is the technical aspect of what is a challenge in the airline and all of that I can't give you. Then that is why I said to you earlier on, you will have to get that from the qualified people who undertake that particular job. The global picture here is that we've got the situation that has been attended to efficiently to ensure that we will not risk the lives of our people in any other way by allowing airlines to fly around and all of that without addressing the challenges that have been found and have been held accountable. And the chronological order of facts going backwards, it does not only start now. There's been this exchange between the operators together with the regulator in addressing some of the challenges. Adding to my statement earlier on, I said these things do happen, but they come to the fore when they explode in the manner in which it has happened this morning, where some of the airlines in their precautionary part, they had to actually act to ground their own airlines to ensure that they react to some of the things that have actually been raised with them. So should the total shutdown or grounding of these airlines happen because the operators have not responded, that will be communicated. At the present moment, I am saying we should not panic and be in a state of frenzy. All is being undertaken in the context of the regulator and holding the airlines and the operators accountable to what they are supposed to do. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay.